Hey, it's Dave with Old Dad Studio. Today is vlog number 144. I'm back upstairs in the kitchen today. Typically, when I have filmed from my kitchen, I'm doing it during the evening or at night. But this is a weekend, and so I'm filming here during the day today. So it's really bright. The color is a little bit different than what I normally do. And I wasn't even going to film anything about what I'm doing today in the kitchen. But my 8-year-old son, who isn't here right now, he's off at a fair with some friends and some family, wanted me to vlog because he's not going to be here to see it. And so today is going to be more of a personal vlog. However, for those of you who are here for AI, there is an AI twist to my story for today. All of the research that I did in what I need to do today was done using ChatGPT and it providing information not only about the product and what I needed to do, but also providing me with a whole bunch of YouTube videos. Now, what is it, you ask, that I'm doing in the kitchen today that would require AI and some assistance and my son not wanting to be here? Well, right behind me in this cabinet right over here, whoop, on where's my finger? There we go. On this cabinet right there is our dishwasher. It's broken and it needs to be fixed. Now, I called for repairs, but the repair company can't come out until June 9th. And so I'm going to see if I can fix it myself. And that's where all of the research and everything came into this before I decided to try to do it myself. I did some research on it. And what's happening is we have a Miele, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Miele Dishwasher. And it's throwing an error code F24, which when I did the research and watched the YouTube videos and asked ChatGPT, it looks like F24 means that one of two things. Either there is a relay that has gone out in the dishwasher, which most homeowners can replace themselves. It's in the bottom of the dishwasher, though, so I have to take it out of the cabinetry and pull it out and flip it over and take things off and to get to this relay switch. The other thing is the heater itself, the heating element that heats up the water and heats up the air to dry the dishes, that might be burnt out. And so it's probably one of those two things. I'm hoping it's the relay, although even before replacing the relay, I'm probably going to try to see if I can just clean some connections. And that's an old troubleshooting technique that I used when I was in the military all the time. My official MOS when I was in the Minnesota Army National Guard was 31 Charlie, which stood for a rat rig operator. I was one of those guys that had a big rig either on the back of a truck or an armored personnel carrier, and I sent and received messages. I encoded them and sent them and received them and uncoded them. And that was my main job, and that's what I was trained for. However, because our unit was so small, we all cross-trained into everybody else's jobs. And the main thing that we ended up doing for most of the time that I was in the Minnesota Army National Guard was we were troubleshooters. There was a radio that was down somewhere. There was a telephone line that was down somewhere. So we ended up troubleshooting and fixing that. And I'll tell you what, and I wish I had one handy because I would show you what my number one troubleshooting tool was when I was in the military. It was a number 2 pencil with a really good eraser. Now you might think, what the heck? One of the things that we did all of the time was a little bit of moisture would get into some of the connections to the radios back then. And I don't know if this is still the case. This was back in the 80s. But what would happen is you get a little bit of moisture in between your connections for your radio. So like an example was the radio that somebody might wear on the back. It's it looks like a backpack, big square kind of radio. Back then they were called Prick 77s, and it had an antenna that came up off the side. You would take off that antenna and you would look at it and it would be all corroded in there because a little bit of moisture or something, a little bit of dust, something got in there and corroded the connection between the antenna and the radio that it was attached to. You would take that off, you would take your number 2 eraser and you'd just erase that connection until it was nice and clean, and then you would erase the connection on the radio till it was nice and clean and put that antenna back on there, and bang, it would work just like that. The vast majority of our troubleshooting were things like that, where a connection had come loose, something had gotten corroded, something got wet or dirty or lost connection, and all we had to do was repair that. Very rarely was it a major fix that we had to do by replacing some big component of a radio. And now that I've gotten thoroughly off track, all right, let's dig in and see what we can do with this dishwasher. Now, you wouldn't think that the adventures in fixing the dishwasher would actually start down in my office, but that's where we're going to start because First thing I need to do is shut off the dishwasher breaker. Now, it also affects our fridge, so I might have to be quick. And now I want to give a disclaimer as we get into this thing. We bought this dishwasher in 2017. This is 2025, so this dishwasher is 8 years old. And in this house right here, at times we have had 6 adults, or well, I guess the high school kids, so 2 adults and 4 high school kids, all staying here at one time. This dishwasher has been through its paces, let me tell you. It has done fine up until this point. So I'm hoping for the simple connection or relay fix, not that the heating unit has burned out, but I wanted to give that disclaimer before I get into it because I opened the door and it's kind of crusty. First thing I need to do is pop these little plastic tops off here and take out the screws so I can remove the dishwasher, and I have those on both sides. We have to use these little T-hex screw heads. All right, now I've got the dishwasher out part way. One of the things that I learned in the videos and from ChatGPT is that this particular manufacturer gives you long drainage hoses, long cables and everything, so you can pull it out to work on it. And it does, it has that, but I've run into one just small minor issue with that, and I'll show you why I can't pull it all the way out. This hose right here, this is the drain hose. You can see it's already pretty taut, and it's not coming out anymore. Where the other 2 hoses, or the water line and the electric, I've got plenty of space there. The electric I've actually unplugged, which, now that I've said that, I should go back downstairs and turn the breaker back on so our fridge is running again. But this is the guy right here that's got me so I can't pull the dishwasher all the way out. But I think it's a simple fix. If you'll see right here, here's that drain line. It's actually way up, I don't know if you can see in the corner right there. It has a zip tie that's holding it up, so it drains. So all I need to do is cut that zip tie, and that'll let it drop, and then I'll have slack in this drainage line as well. I don't know if I can do this while I'm filming or not, because it's a pretty tight space, but let me see if I can. Nope, I gotta shut you off. All right, now after I got in there where that zip tie was, I decided it was too tight for me to try to cut that zip tie and get a new one in there when it was time to put a new one in. And it would be easier just to remove the hose clamp, pull the hose off the garbage disposal where it connects to, and just pull it through and leave that zip tie there so I could use it again when I come back. So now I have plenty of room to pull the dishwasher out, but there is one more thing I need to do before I can lay it on its back and start pulling the panels off, and that's to remove any water that might be left inside. All right, now before I pull off the bottom of the dishwasher, I'm actually going to clean out the space in the cabinet where the dishwasher was, and I wanted to look at the floor to see if I see any water damage or anything that would indicate we might have some corrosion happening. And there is. There actually is. It looks like there's a stain right here on this side over here that to me would indicate we might have had a water leak, and maybe we just do have some corrosion on some of the connections. So let me get this cleaned up, and then we'll start tearing off the bottom. All right, looking at the bottom of the dishwasher, there obviously has been some corrosion here. At some point we had something leak. Now what I've learned from the internet is that this is the unit right here, the relay unit that tends to go out. So I'm going to take a look at these connections first. It's a little grainy, I apologize for that, but you can see in here that tab right there. You see the lines on that tab? What that's telling me is that there is a little bit of a coating on there, and when I pulled the connector off, the connector that was on there created those little grooves in the coating that's on it, or the corrosion that might be there. So I'm going to attempt two things. One is I'm going to clean these up to see if I can get them nice and clean again, make a really good connection with the cables that are there. So this little piece right here is what it is. That is most likely the issue. If the heating element itself is out, then that would be it. But this is the other piece. I'm going to call our local dealer and see if they happen to have any of these in stock. Maybe I'll just go pick one up, and that way I'll have one available in case this one doesn't work, and I can always return it if I don't actually need it. All right, so I have cleaned up the connections on this the best that I can. Now, I've done a couple other things while I was off camera, while I had the camera shut off. One was I called the dealership where we bought this dishwasher from, it's a Miele, to ask them if they had any parts in stock and that I could just maybe go buy a new one of these from them. They don't stock any parts for the dishwashers, but they did give me a 1-800 number that I can call for the manufacturer to order some parts. They're not open today. It is a weekend, plus it's a holiday weekend, so I'll have to wait until Tuesday, I guess, to call them to see if they have a part. But I think what I'm going to do in the meantime, since I've got these connections cleaned up as best I can, I'm going to put this back in there and I'll give it a run just to see if cleaning the connections actually resolve the issue and I don't need a new part. Now, a couple other things that I did do that we could tie it into AI, since this is an AI channel after all. I took a picture of this. I uploaded the picture to ChatGPT and asked it to find that part for me. And I also entered it into the new Google search, which is AI enhanced, and asked it to find the part just to see what the two differences were. I actually like the response I received from Google better than I did from ChatGPT, which didn't surprise me a ton since Google is a search engine and that's what I'm doing. I'm searching for a part. But Google gave me way more options when looking for a part like this than ChatGPT did, which, again, I kind of assumed it would, but it was a fun comparison nonetheless. And then one of my sons works on large industrial machines. And one of the jobs that he has is rewiring and doing electrical work on those machines when there's an electrical issue. I did reach out to him as well to see if he might have a tester that we could test this to see if it tests okay. He actually hasn't gotten back to me yet. So I'm just going to stick it in, and if he calls me, I'll explain to him what I'm looking for. And if I need to pull it out again, I certainly can if it doesn't work. And he can test it. At least that way I would know if this is really the problem or not, or if the problem is farther down the line. Not sure if you can see this or not, but we've been hand washing everything lately, so I don't have a whole lot, but I do have a few dishes, and I'm just going to throw those in there and we'll see what happens. This is the part of the video where everybody collectively, we're going to cross our fingers, we're going to cross our toes, we're going to do whatever it takes, and hopefully all it was a little bit of corrosion on those connections, and now that I've cleaned it up, it's going to work perfectly, and everything will be okay. At least that's the hope. I'll let you know in a few minutes whether or not it worked. Oh, I just thought of something very diabolical. What if I said, you have to tune in to the next vlog, tomorrow's vlog, to find out whether or not the dishwasher actually worked and whether my fix worked? All right, I'm not that mean. I won't make you wait. Well, Can you see that right there? Error code F24. Now, I'm not going to name names, but one of you didn't cross your fingers. Dang it. All right, well, I guess that means I order the part online, and we'll see what happens when I get a new one. So the bad news is my dishwasher is still broken. The good news is I'll have more content for YouTube. Yay! Oh, man. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Old Dead Studio, but hey, don't worry. I got stuff broken around my house all over the place. And I have a ton more topics to talk about around AI, which means I will see you tomorrow.